Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalaran, and in today's video, we'll be taking a look at the Covenants in Shadowlands. Covenants is a new feature, similar to the class Order Halls from Legion, and it'll be the primary system of class progression, class abilities, as well as a reward structure that is set for the new expansion of Shadowlands. Now, we don't have all the details about Covenant yet. We are waiting for more stuff that we can test once Shadowlands goes into alpha, or maybe even beta. But for now, we have everything from BlizzCon that we can discuss, the potential that Covenants hold, and what they might mean for your character. As World of Warcraft has evolved from expansion to expansion, with Legion, we really started to work on one of the very first few power structures for us to build on, the artifact weapon. There were amazing advantages to having the artifact weapon, like the talent system that you had to build up, the different weapons that you could work on, the various skins that you get, and the power that the weapon grows with you, but it also came with the artifact power system. So far, the artifact power system has made it into Legion as well as Battle for Azeroth, so it's an interesting way to progress your character, but it also comes with some drawbacks of a very grindy system. Blizzard in Shadowlands was to take ideas from Legion as well as Battle for Azeroth, draw on the lessons learned, and try to come up with a better system that satisfies the progression element, the customization element, the achievement element that you get from these weapons, or I guess the artifact power essences of Battle for Azeroth, minus any kind of grinding. Blizzard stated that they are not going to have an artifact power gathering grinding system for Shadowlands, which should be a great boon for a lot of people if you hated the grind. For me, I feel like an MMO should always have some sort of a grind somewhere, so the artifact power system and the Azeroth power of BFA fits that model. Although maybe just how much effort and how much work it takes to put in on one character does make an expansion less alt-friendly, as we are looking right now with the essences in Battle for Azeroth. The grind for these pieces of gear needs to be worth something, but in terms of the scale and just how much time you need to sink, a lot of people didn't like that. So Blizzard wants to do away with the bad stuff, but keep the good stuff. The Covenant system is a little bit weird and a little bit difficult to explain, so I'll try to do my best to explain how we have it right now. With Shadowlands, you'll be able to play through the story of the expansion and learning about the different denizens of Shadowlands. They all belong to one of four Covenants. You have the Kyrian, Venthyr, the Fae, as well as the Covenant of Necrolords in Maldraxxus. These four Covenants will be one of the Covenants that you'll choose by the time you're level 120. And for your alts, you'll be able to choose them early once you've completed the first run of the story campaign for the beginning level introductions for Shadowlands. Covenants offer a lot, from player customization in terms of how you want to look for your character, different prestige rewards in order to do a certain amount of quests or certain challenges in order to unlock cooler looking stuff, as well as player class progression in terms of the power level of your character. You'll get stuff like weapons and armor that have a unique look for your Covenant. Backpack style cloaks, that means not just a cloak but like a 3D thing, like wings, or an actual backpack, or like the totems that Tauren have for their heritage armor, so they're playing around more with interesting style cloaks, quote unquote. You also will get a mount for the theme of your Covenant, and as part of a prestige, you will be able to upgrade it. Similar to how artifact weapons got their challenge mode skins, you'll be able to get like a challenge mode version of your mount, like a really cool version of an upgrade for doing something awesome. You also get world benefits, that means buffs from the world, like whenever you go out and do world quest, or maybe even different ways for you to traverse the world, as each Covenant has a different ability for how you move around in the game. And finally, the Covenant campaign, which they explained is going to be basically like war campaign of Battle for Azeroth, the scale, the size, the duration, but each Covenant will have their own storyline and how they approach, I guess, some of the events in the Shadowlands. All this sounds like hours and days and weeks and maybe even months worth of content to enjoy, and I really hope that Blizzard gets this content right. This has to be really good. I really do want to start to care about the campaign for the Covenant, which I know nothing about, so I really want for Blizzard to make me care. And you won't be able to make me care unless the story is really good. Covenants will come with different abilities for your character to grow. Right now they have a class ability as well as a traversal movement ability. So the class ability means that every class will have 4 abilities to choose from per Covenant. That's 4 abilities for all 12 classes in the game, which is incredible. The example in BlizzCon they gave was the Mage, and we have 4 different types depending on which Covenant you choose. Some of the mage variants you can get unlocked based on your covenant would be, first of all, let's start with Kyrian. Conjure a radiant spark at the target that causes X amount of arcane damage instantly and an additional little bit of arcane damage over 8 seconds. Then, your next 4 direct damage abilities that hit the target affected by Radiant Spark deal 25% increased damage up to 100. So, on a very short cooldown, you're able to ramp up your spells to do more damage to the enemy, but make sure that your last spell that you use will be the strongest one. Maybe you want a slightly longer CD for an ability. So, Necrolords provide for mages Contagion Bolt. 2-second cast, 1.5 minute cooldown, deal 5000 shadow damage to an enemy. For the next 8 seconds, your single target spells cast on the affected enemy cause the disease to splash to nearby enemies, dealing 3000 shadow damage. I would think this would be pretty good for single target, but also pretty amazing for any cleave or AoE. Then you have Shifting Power from the Night Fae, which plays a little bit differently. 45-second cooldown, it's a channeled ability. Draw from the ground beneath you for 3 seconds, dealing 5000 nature damage to nearby enemies. Every second spent channeling increases your haste by 5% for 15 seconds. Basically, a mini bloodlust, but while you channel it, you do a little bit of AoE damage in a melee range. So you would want to Shimmer Blink into a group of enemies when using this and then unleash your haste on all your enemies. Maybe you wanted a karma for your mage, so Mirrors of Torment would be the ability you would go for if you want to choose Venthyr. Venthyr have a 2-minute cooldown ability, 2-second cast, conjure 3 mirrors that rotate around the enemy for 6 seconds. Whenever they cast an ability or spell, they take 7000 shadow damage and are rooted for 1.5 seconds. Imagine just how good that would be for a mage in a PvP situation. It seems that the Covenant abilities and the choices given to the player should be as equal as possible, or at least from the first thought, I can definitely see advantages for some of these abilities in some situations. Of course, some are better in AoE, some are better for single target, some are great for a little bit of a cleave for both, and others might be super useful in PvP. But even if you didn't have a specific choice, and if you simply like the ability for what it does, it almost feels like there is an option of, hey, what ability you want to use. It seems that all these abilities would be useful in one way or another. Some are stronger in some situations, but regardless, they would be useful in dungeons, raids, and PvP. So each Covenant has a theme to what they can offer you for an ability, and also other rewards, but this is only an example for mages. I would love to see what rogues get, as well as other classes. We know every current ability for every class out there. We're waiting for the other Covenants and their respective class abilities to come out, hopefully at a later time. But so far, I'm already pretty impressed with the versatility that these core abilities can bring to a class in a situation. Another ability the Covenants will have is a Traversal Ability. For example, the Night Fae Covenant ability can be Soul Shape, 1.5 minute cooldown, turn into a Spirit Fox, increasing your movement speed by 30% and causing enemies to ignore you. Lasts 10 seconds or until cancelled while you're in the rest area. This ability means that inside of a town or a city, you're able to use Soul Shape to move slightly faster, very similar to Ghost Wolf for Shamans, but every other class gets it. And the interesting part about this ability is this will be part of your Prestige unlocks. Apparently, you can start out with a fox as a basic shape for an animal, but you can unlock other shapes like a butterfly or a stag, or maybe something much cooler with a cool effect, and that'll be part of the prestigious things, kind of like a artifact weapon skin that you can unlock with the Night Fae, for example. But every class has a different movement-based ability. For Kyrians, we are able to dissolve into pure anima, increasing our movement speed by 300%, slowing our fall speed, and propelling you towards for 4 seconds. So you can use this out in the open world or PvP as a sprint. The Necrolords get an interesting one, which is a 3-minute cooldown, where you separate your soul from your body. Your soul is invisible and untargetable, though your body remains vulnerable. This effect will end if you move further than 60 yards from your body, but it seems that you can kind of walk around in spirit form away from your body for a second. I guess maybe you can even interact with quest objectives while, let's say, you're doing a world quest and you need to loot a couple things. You'll set your character to auto-attack an enemy, and you'll use Transcendent Flesh to finish up a couple of world quests in the area. Maybe pick up some items that you need, and then come back to your body, finish off the enemy, and continue on. But a very different, also very weird way of traversal. And finally, the Venthyr have a cool one. Door of Shadows, 2-minute cooldown, 2-second cast, went through the shadows appearing at a targeted location. The way the Blizzard mentioned it is, it's basically a teleport and you choose where you want to go. Anywhere on the map, as long as you're in the Shadowlands. So that one I think would be really cool, because sometimes you need to just get all the way to the other side of the map very quickly. I think in PvP this would be awesome to chase after an enemy or escape your pursuers. So lots of different options depending on your covenant, all seem viable in their own different weird ways. Another piece of content that the covenants provide is Soulbinds. In the covenants, you'll be able to befriend certain denizens of the covenant. Here we have an example of the Venthyr Soulbinds, two of the followers of the Venthyr. You have Theratar, the Mad Duke, and then you have the Mistblade. If you soulbind yourself with the Mad Duke, you'll be able to get a passive of Arrogance. You have 5% increase critical strike chance against enemies whose health percentage is lower than yours, which will be amazing for a crit-based class inside of a raid. Or, for the Mistblade, you get Deflect and Flourish. Your parry is increased by 6%. If you are normally unable, Nagia will teach you how to parry, so now a class can have a defensive capability. That, or a tank that stacks parry, will now be even tankier, or I guess more likely to parry an enemy's attack. This offers some gameplay changes and variety of different uses, and if you think outside of the box in a very WoW classic style way, Deflect and Flourish could be amazing in some PvP situations. Sure, you're not a class that can really affect it that much, and parries and misses are not as often in BFA as they are in Classic, but while it could be a tank alternative, it could technically be used for defensive capability for a non-tank class, and more of the Soulbinds are available at a later time. And it looks like we also have a talent system for these Soulbinds. The denizens of Shadowlands that you'll be able to befriend, you'll actually be able to slot in talents for them. And as far as we are to understand, these talents might even be a little bit customizable. Like you'll be able to find specific pieces somewhere out in the Shadowlands and apply them to these different characters to empower the different buffs that they gain. When you soulbind to these denizens of Shadowlands, you also gain those talents as well. So from the looks here, we see that there's a couple things we can see, like customizability. We have open slots in some of the talents that we don't have a icon in. So that could mean that we can customize it. We also have at the top, for example, there's two branching paths, one to the top left, one to the top right. So it seems like we'll have customizability. So like the artifact powered talent system, we'll actually have choices though this time in terms of which talents we prefer. We don't know what these passives might be, and we don't know how they affect your gameplay yet. There could be damage buffs, there could be critical strike buffs, there could be movement speed increases, there could be less damage when you're taking fall damage, there could be any one of those capabilities. They could be very minor, but they also could be very effective for gameplay. Blizzard also mentioned that they want this talent system for Soulbinds to also be changeable, but like you would be able to change your talents. So you would use a tome and change your talents, then go to your Soulbind, change their talents, and be able to customize things on the fly fairly easily. So this seems really exciting and very interesting that we have an artifact power-like system, by the looks of it, in Shadowlands without the artifact power grind. I think this would offer a little bit more customizability to characters because losing a lot of the passives from the artifact weapons was huge, and to gain them back in some way or another through even Soulbinds is an interesting proposal. We'll see more about this once this goes into testing. And of course, the customizability of these different covenants is going to be very important and core to the gameplay. For example, Blizzard during BlizzCon unveiled the plate pieces that you'll be able to get with every covenant. As you can see, every one of them is themed, depending on which covenant you've chosen, and they are all very distinct. And these are all plate pieces, so only makes me wonder what the cloth pieces might look like, the leather, as well as the mail. We don't know the details of how you unlock these covenant sets, probably through the quests and doing prestigious things for the covenant, and they might have certain bonuses for armor. Maybe it'll be one of your very first few pieces of armor you'll get before the raid, but primarily used for transmog, which is part of the core of the covenant. They're supposed to replace the cosmetic bonuses that your Azeroth stuff would be able to do, like the essences, or the artifact weapon certain skins. The covenant is supposed to provide that little bit of itch for prestigious reward. Speaking about prestige, we talked about interesting back pieces and back attachments that Blizzard wants to implement this expansion. It seems that Blizzard has been having a lot of fun with different back attachments. We saw different back attachments for the Tarn, for example, with their heritage armor, where instead of getting a regular cloak, you actually get a massive totem on your back, which is very, very indicative to what the Tauren are like, you know, the totems and all. So this is quite cool, and will be even more prestigious content that you'll be able to get. So far, we've only seen what the Kyrian can get, which is wings, also little halos, and other back attachments besides your regular cloaks. Makes me wonder what kind of other back attachments we'll be able to get for the other covenants too. And the best part about this is while this looks great with the actual Kyrian gear that you'll be able to get, it also will look great with other mods. I mean, look at those black angel wings, like a fallen angel wings, and add that to like a very dark, very sinister, very almost emo looking transmog set for your character. I think this would look amazing on like a fallen death knight or something, or maybe a paladin that goes for like this fallen angel look, wearing mostly death knight gear with blackened out wings. I mean, there's so much cool capabilities, and people love cosmetic rewards. I remember how people were excited for the mage tower and the challenge mode skins. You had to do something cool to unlock a really cool looking piece of gear, and it was cool that you were able to customize it and mix and match with different transmogs. And Blizzard wants to continue that with the Covenants. I really like so far everything about the Covenants. I like the ideas behind it. We don't have enough information to really look at the balancing of things yet, and I cannot wait to see some of the leather pieces, but so far, this is everything we know about the Covenants for Shadowlands. And of course, more to come. If you guys want to see anything more about Shadowlands, subscribe to the channel because we'll be doing more of this as soon as any bits of content comes out, and I'll be updating you guys on anything Shadowlands as soon as we get a chance to see more. But thank you all so much for watching this video. I do hope you enjoyed. Hope you guys having a good one, and I'll see all of you in another one.